So let's talk about how to use the SSIS aggregate transformation and the derived transformation in an export. Now in this video, I'm going to export from Excel into SQL Server or import Excel data into SQL Server, however you want to term it. And it's actually not going to be that difficult. You're going to watch me do it. I kind of have an idea of what I'm going to do, but not completely. So the first thing is we need an Excel source. I happen to be using Excel 2007. Doesn't really matter which one. What I want to do is have some data worthy of aggregation. And in almost all companies, you're dealing with revenue and you want to aggregate how much companies have purchased, customers have purchased, products have sold for. So let's just do something like that. Let's have like an order details spreadsheet, for example, where we have a customer ID, an order ID, the product that they've purchased, the unit price, the quantity that they've purchased. No, do that and zoom in so you can see to make sure that we're all able to see this. And so I'm going to keep this real simple. Customer ID 1, order ID 1, bought product ID 1, a unit price of 14, and they bought 1. I mean, not very difficult. On the same order, they bought product ID 2 for $100, and they bought 2 of those. And on the same order, they bought product ID 3 for $34, and they bought 1. Okay, so that is one order. Okay, so order ID 1 has 3 line items, 3 details, 3 detail records associated with it. Then let's move on and say customer ID 2 on order ID 2 bought product ID 1. They paid $13.98. Looks like maybe they got a quantity discount for customer ID 2, order ID 2, product ID 2. They bought, again, a quantity discount because they bought 5. And, okay, so we'll do product, order customer ID 3 for order ID 3, unit price 14, bought 1, and I'm tired of typing. I think you kind of get the idea. Let's save this as an Excel spreadsheet. We'll call this order deets, order detail .xslsx. XSL, anyhow. But you could just see that is one order, colorize. This is another, and that is a third order. And what we're going to do is we want to aggregate, for example, how much did each customer spend total? Or we might want to aggregate how much did we sell of each product. Now that's going to be the aggregate. But what we're also going to want to do is to come up with a derived column that tells us what the total amount the customer spent with us. So we're going to have to say, what's 14 times 1? 14. What's 100 times 2? We're going to have to derive the value of the net amount or the gross amount column by multiplying unit price times quantity. So let's go ahead. I'm not going to save my changes. My only changes were colorization, and we don't need that in our source. Okay, so what I'll do next is create a SQL Server table to store some of this historical information. So I'm going to use my trusty learnitfirst.com database. You use whatever you want. And so we'll create, I don't know, aggregations. Let's see. And let's just pull this in here. And so maybe we'll have something like the customer ID. And this is just, I'm making it up as I go along here. So maybe it's not the most normalized or standardized system. Total sales would be maybe if you'd like a money data type. Total products, total different products purchased. And that would be an integer. And then what else would we have? That's probably good enough. So I'm going to go ahead and save this just so I don't lose it. As order, let's see, aggregations. It'll be probably different in the download file, but this will be in the file for you. And so what we have to do is we have to get the customer ID, the total sales, and the total different products purchased. Okay. Well, there's a lot of different ways that we could calculate this information. I am here to teach you about the aggregation and the derived transformations, so that's what I'm going to use. So I'm going to go ahead and launch the Visual Studio, go ahead and create a new project, and then I'm probably going to just save this as aggregations. And again, this will be in the file, but it probably has a different name. It will have the same file name as this video has. So the first thing that we need here is a data flow. So we drag it over. And let me wire up my Excel source. Now, one thing that we're going to have to deal with, let me grab this here. It automatically picked up, it was Excel 2007. In this particular editor, and by the way, it was just sheet 1, so preview to make sure. In this particular editor, we cannot see the data types that SSIS has chosen. Boy, is that going to be important. Remember our customer ID, probably an integer, decimal or currency, and an integer. But SSIS is not going to auto-make those particular data types. So let's go ahead and take a look a little further down the pipe. Remember that we want the derived column. So let's stay focused on that. Let's do the derived column, and then we'll talk more data types as we go forward here. So under my transformations, let's take a look at the derived column. All right, so take a look over here, drag it on, and we're going to go from the Excel source, and we're going to create a derived column based on the input rows. That's what this little green arrow is telling us here, is that based on the input rows, we're going to create a new column and add that to the output. So let's double click. This, by the way, this little pop-up right here that says update column values using expressions, misleading. You are adding new columns to the output. So double click on it. And I want mine to call, let's see, we wanted the total price, right? And what we wanted is, okay, hold on. We want unit price times quantity. Let me just get you comfortable with this screen. Right here, these columns, move this over, are the columns that the Excel source makes available as an output. Okay, so there are 5 columns that the Excel source exposes to the rest of the data flow task, and these are they. So what we want to do is multiply unit price times quantity. So what we want to do, we don't want to replace any of the columns in the output. We want to add a new column. So we add the new column, we'll call it here total price, and we want it to be drag and drop unit price times quantity. Okay. Well, we can actually see this data type right here is extremely important. Let's kind of play around just in this, and let's just drag the customer ID. All right, it sees the customer ID is a double precision float. That's a big decimal. Order ID, let's put it down there. Order ID, okay, so everything is a double precision float for this one. You know, I don't think in SQL Server that we want to bring in a double precision float. We want the money data type. Do you remember we defined that the total price was a money? And if you watched one of the earlier videos in the course, you know that that maps to the currency data type in SSIS. So we need this to not be a double precision float. We need it to be a DTCY. Now I'll show you how to do it. Super easy. We're going to cover all this in expressions later. But you go to your typecasts, you find your DICY, and you put it at the beginning of the expression. And now, for order of precedence, I'm going to put parentheses around the expression. So what we're saying, and let's zoom right in here, we're saying take this expression, unit price times quantity, and convert it to a data type currency. Okay. And when we move off the row, you can see the data type was changed to data type currency. That's important. Okay. This way, we avoid having to use a data conversion transformation later down the pipeline when we want to load it into SQL Server. The data type DTCY maps to the SQL Server data type money. Very nice. I say okay.